right. Welcome back to the Black Techies podcast, where Black culture meets the world of technology. I'm hosting again, unbelievably,
Yay!
but it's me, David, aka the Short Black Techie. Follow me on Twitter at Short BLK Techie. Of course, got to get all the uh what's it called? All the housekeeping out of the way. This is being presented by HBCU Digital. Head on over to hbcudigital.com for everything related to HBCUs and the Black culture. And of course, that's where you can find our podcast, as well as basically any streaming service you can think of: YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, uh, Twitter. You can also audio wise, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, everything. So just subscribe on one of those or multiple locations, and you'll probably find us. So uh, welcome back. I'm here with Miss Leslie Moore. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. I'm Leslie. I'm also known as at GetRec2020 on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. That's my gamer page, and GetRec Tech Support, which is my Facebook business page, and Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff.
All right, we got Mr. Dominique, aka Blackity Black Man, who is on his way somewhere. I guess you on your way home?
I'm on my way to Atlanta.
Oh,
Oh, A Town. All right. I got a rep. But
Yeah,
are you
Dominique Bass. You can catch me on Instagram at D_Blake. You can catch me on Facebook under the same name, my regular name, Dominique Bass. And yeah, I'll be muted a lot of this episode because the background noises of the road. I don't want to, and also I curse a lot at drivers, and it's a family show.
it's like it's PG, PG, maybe occasionally PG-13. But no, that's cool. That's cool. But I think Herb's gonna join us eventually. He's doing he's celebrating his dad's birthday. And so happy birthday to Herb's dad. So he may or may not be here. He's probably gonna be here because it's Herb and he loves the Black Techies.
mm-hmm.
Uh but yeah, so a lot has happened in the world of tech just this past week. We had Google I/O. We had the iPod has been discontinued, and Elon Musk may or may not be going back on his word to purchase Twitter for however much it was. I forgot how much it was, but I think for right now we can start with Google I/O. So I actually have it up here just so I didn't forget everything they announced. So Google had their their keynote anyway for their developer conference, Google I/O, and so they announced a whole bunch of stuff. Mainly, um, let's see, the Pixel 6 and not 6. No, it's 7A. I'm sorry. Uh, no. Well, okay, I take that back. So yeah, so they announced new Pixels, right? That's coming up in the future. This the 7A, I believe, and also the regular Pixel 7 and 7 Pro. Um, they also announced the Pixel Watch, which has been leaked like in forever. Like we knew what the Pixel Watch looked like before all of this, so they finally confirmed it and showed it off. It looks pretty nice. They also showed off. Let's see.
Got the
So
buds.
that's right. The Google Bud or Pixel Buds rather, Pixel Buds Pro, which come in four colors: orange, green, white, and black. Um, let's see. So the one thing that they really tried to hammer home on was their, what is it called? Their whole skin tone thing to make things
Mm-hmm.
more inclusive, right? So when they
Mm-hmm.
launched the Pixel last year, they were really big on making sure that the pictures and video that you took were more representative of the people that you shot, right? So people with darker skin tones would still be represented at the same time with people with lighter skin tones, right? That's just how physics works. Like light bounces off certain things, so you have to make sure that the camera and the whatever algorithm you're using for interpreting that is correct, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so whole bunch of stuff. So there was one at the very end. They announced these AR goggles or glasses rather that their sole purpose was for language translation, which is cool. But we'll get to that. But Leslie, did you watch or watch any or read any articles about it?
I actually got to watch a good bit of it while I was at work, and it felt kind of like Apple-ish just because like, look, we got the new thing coming. Here's our new watch. Here's our new sportswear. Here's our new buds. Here's our new phones. They're doing new tablets. They're getting more immersive in the translation. They added new languages to Google Translate. I thought that was really interesting that they were adding a lot more native unspoken languages that are starting to slowly be lost because a lot of the native speakers are dying off. So they're adding more of those languages, so the language itself is not gone. That's a plus. I was looking at a couple of the tablets because I do need an Android tablet only because I do some Android dev from time to time. They're doing good work with Google Wallet. They're making that a little bit more available,
Oh yeah,
kind of
that's
putting
right.
on
Yeah.
that same thing for Apple Pay. I use Google Wallet a lot more now. So they're working on that. Uh, the only thing I want to see where it goes is their new maps. They're
Oh
trying to
yeah,
make
that's
it
right.
more user friendly.
And I think they
Uh,
call it immersive maps or
yes,
something like
the
that. Yeah.
immersive view for maps now. The
Right.
Google Assistant's getting a boost because right now nobody is really on Google. They're all on Siri and they're on Alexa. So I've got two
Are they?
Alexas
I don't. I
now.
mean, it's funny. Like, no, right now, at least, no, you all know I'm right now anyway. I'm an Apple guy. I basically have
Right.
Apple everything. In fact, I'm trying to come out with a video about my MacBook Pro. But that said, before I had an iPhone, I had a Pixel. What did I have? Pixel 4,
Hmm.
Pixel 5, one of them. But and so I really like the Pixel. I don't dislike the Pixel. I just got the iPhone because it integrates better with my life
Everything
or
you
whatever.
got.
But
See, I've never really been too into the Google integration. Like I said, the only reason I even have Alexas is because people bought them for me. I didn't buy them for myself. They're like, oh, well, here's a gift. I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna use it. But I'm hyped about is what they're doing with Android Studio and with
oh
Flutter.
yeah.
So they're actually
So
getting
can
more
you
dev side.
can you can you explain that a little bit more? I think I
Um,
missed that one.
no, they made a new and the newest iteration of Android Studio is called Electric Eel or Canary. It's got new features that's going to help with you can preview your code almost in real time now instead of having to spin up a sim. So that's great. And then is Flutter 3 is coming out, so that's more programming language. Uh, they're finally
So
starting to
I
get the
so
new. Hmm?
so quick question. So like for Android development, like is that
Hmm.
so I know before you used to use Java.
Yeah,
Do most people still use Java or like
you can
another
use
language?
Flutter. You can use C Sharp, Java, C Sharp, and Flutter. But mostly what you're using for Android Studio, especially a lot of C Sharp,
I haven't used C
.ASP,
Sharp for
.NET.
years.
I know, right? And
I used
it's still kind of bare bones, especially now. What I'm concerned about is with the new OS for the phones. Now, Chrome OS, if you got a Chromebook, okay, it's another OS boost, and that actually might help because Chrome OS is garbage to me. I always hated it. I mean, it's good for what it's like. If you just have a Chromebook for emails, web surfing, and you're not trying to do anything other than the basics of needing a computer and the internet, Chromebooks are perfect. You try to do anything else, don't do it. Save money. It's, don't do it. You're gonna make yourself real mad. I know I did. I broke a couple Chromebooks just because it's like I want to do this. Nope, Chrome OS is not for that. Don't try it.
to that point though, I so I mentioned how like I'm deep in the Apple ecosystem, and it
Hmm.
seems like Google is trying to make a semblance of their own little Pixel ecosystem, kind of separate from like the rest of the Android manufacturers. Because Samsung is doing something similar. I just watched a review of the Galaxy Book Pro 2, and the guy was saying that if you have a Samsung phone, that it works like just like Apple. Like you can transfer files and stuff between them if you have, you know, yeah, the any maybe any recent Samsung phone in their computer. So it seems like Google is trying to do the same, something similar with with the Pixel line. I mean, I don't know.
It kind of is
Is it-
because for what they're trying to do is like you Google is pretty much trying to make itself the Android version of Apple. They're trying to make sure between the home assistants, the computers, the phones, the cell phone technology, the wearables, it's on par because right now Samsung has the market on lock, realistically, and Google
As far
does
as Android,
have their
yeah.
camera on the Android market. It's Samsung or bust, but Google's trying to make a bigger push for that market. It's a slightly lower price point and it's more integrative, especially with Windows. So it it's it looks like they're really trying to come up, and I'm happy for it. I mean, the cameras on the Google phones are amazing. Their
Right.
quality have always like if I had to mix and match phones, I would get a Samsung phone with a Google camera, like always. Like it's ridiculous, but they're trying to integrate more so it's not so much of an Apple monopoly because everybody's like, oh, if you either have an Apple or you don't. Now it's more like there's some more competition on the Android side of things.
Right. Right. I mean, it's funny because like I also I'm in the Apple ecosystem, but when it comes to like smart home stuff, I don't use any Apple products. Like I don't have a HomePod. I don't use HomeKit devices. Like I use Google. See, that's the irony. I use Google for all my home smart home stuff, like my security system, Google.
Hmm.
My cameras, Google. I have the what is it called? The screen, the display that you put that you can what is it called? The home hub. That's what it is.
Yeah, the Home Hub.
Or a Nest Hub. Yeah. So I have that. We use that. Honestly, we really only use it for like timers.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's useful like for looking for visualizing stuff. Like you can even pull up
Right.
YouTube videos on there and stuff for like, if you need cooking stuff on YouTube. But yeah, I'm glad they're doing this because it Apple needs to have a competitor as far as ecosystem. Like Apple doesn't need to be the only game in town. Like I like
Especially
Android
on
actually, right?
especially on the U.S. soil. Right now, Samsung is still a foreign company, so it's more of they needed more U.S. competition and kind of put pressure on. And Google is making a smart move. This is the best time to do it. This is a smart move, especially over. It's a major overhaul for what they've been doing.
I mean, they're getting there. You know, the last Pixel that came out, Pixel 6, that was the first phone with their own chip in it.
Hmm.
The what is it called? Their chip that's inside their phone,
Uh,
the tensor core, tensor was that what it was? I forgot.
what's
But
it?
just like Apple is using their own chips in their phones, Google is trying to do the same thing. And
Right.
so I wonder, in fact, I see that a lot
Oh, it's a
nowadays.
tensor. It's a
It
tensor
is
chipset.
tensor. It is tensor. But so I'm happy that Google is it seems like they're finally trying to uh be serious about being a hardware company.
Right.
And now that they have the Pixel Watch coming out, it looks. I'm not. So I have an Apple Watch, right? I have an
Hmm.
Apple Watch, and I really enjoy it. This thing is great, but I really like the Pixel Watch. I like the fact that it's round. It's a nice looking watch. I don't know. I
It
think I like
is
the
sweet.
simplicity. Yeah, I
Uh,
think I like the simplicity. And
uh, my son has a Samsung Wear, so he has a
mm.
Samsung watch. But yeah, the Google Watch is really really sweet.
Is there what kind of phone do you have now?
I have the Samsung Z Flip 3. I got the flip phone.
Oh, oh, all right. Are you is there anything Google could do to make you switch over to like all Pixel? Pixel
Ooh,
all the things.
I've been. I'm not gonna lie. I've been Samsung so long. The main reason I stuck with them this iterate, I was thinking about getting Google phone. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was thinking because the last phone I had was 10 plus, and I had that sucker for 2 years. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to upgrade. I was looking at Google. What kept me with Samsung is the flip option. That's what kept me because I love the flip phone. I don't have this big bulky phone in my pocket. I can fold it in half, put it in my pocket. I'm good to go. Now, if they start more phones start going back to the flip phone, like I said, I love the Pixel camera. It's the
Hmm.
Pixel camera and the Apple camera are really about almost what and what to me, but the Pixel is slightly better to me. But if they made something more like I understand people like bigger phones, but I like the flip option. Now, if Google said I'm gonna make a flip option on my phone, I'm probably gonna switch. Just
So it's the option to like have something that's smaller that you can like make. What about the other flip phone, the Galaxy Fold?
the Galaxy Fold is too big for me because
Mm,
it's like holding a wallet. I don't want a wallet sized phone. If I want a computer screen, I have a computer screen. I don't want a computer screen size in my pocket. I don't mind the smaller screen size. It's
mm-hmm.
actually a pretty decent size to say it's foldable, and both you can. Use it like a little compact. You literally fold it in half and sit it somewhere. You don't even have to use a stand. It's its own stand, so it's convenient and it's smaller. I don't.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of the huge phone. I like a smaller phone.
No, it's I can understand that. And in fact, I think when I saw a lot of reviews about it, a lot of people like the fact that it's you can just fold it down, like just like a regular flip phone. Like the whole point was you flip it down when you don't need it, and then flip it open, when you need it. When you're on the phone, you're talking to somebody, you can just, you know,
That is it. We get to hang up on people again. Like,
right,
you know what?
right.
I'm tired of you.
You
Slap.
could. I think that's probably the biggest one of the biggest upsides
It's like you can,
for flip phones,
yeah,
right?
you can hang up on people again.
So what was the did you have like a favorite product or announcement that they made?
I'm not. I'm looking forward to Maps and what they're doing with
Mm,
Android Dev Studio because I I I was trying to see how they were going to work on the dev side because Google Play Store and Android is so much easier to dev for. You can do so much changes, but Android Studio is kind of a pain in the butt if you don't understand how to use it or how to work with it. But it looks like they're trying to more almost go an Apple Swift route with Flutter, so it's a little bit easier, a little bit more concise. And then the fact that you don't have to, if you want to test something on a particular phone or screen size, you don't have to spin up a simulator anymore. They're actually giving you the live code previews. That's gonna be a game changer, especially
right.
like I said, just dev side alone.
So see, this is why I'm glad you're on here. Like we can kind of get that the dev side of stuff. 'Cause I'm not a developer. I'm a network engineer. So I haven't touched code in years. So I mean I've thought about going back, maybe, like, well, I kinda have to nowadays because with automation and everything, almost everyone that has to know Python now. So
You see, I know Python. I'm actually in a boot camp right now to be a full stack developer in JavaScript. So
Mhm.
I'm getting more because my coding expertise is QA software testing, like working with automated scripts and writing and all the regression testing, all that stuff. That's why I cut my teeth. So that's why I always look for software side of things so I can
Right.
understand what the changes are going to be for that. And like I said, looks like Google is really trying to step up their game. And if they're going to step it up like what they showed, Apple might have an issue in 2 years. I give it about a year or two, and then people are going to really be like, are you staying with Apple just because you're an Apple person, or would you
Right.
rather switch to Google because it's an Android, but it doesn't seem like an Android,
Right.
you know?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to go through the list here. Oh, I almost forgot about this. So the virtual cards, right? So they're rolling out virtual
Yeah.
cards to help protect users' financial information while they're shopping online. So basically, what happens is when you use it, it generates like a fake number.
Mm-hmm.
It masks your real credit card number, which I thought that's how Google Pay worked. I know that's how Apple Pay works. I thought that's how Google Pay worked as well.
Well, Google Pay, from that aspect, it was a virtual number, but it didn't change. It was like you set up your
Uh,
Google Pay, it gives you a set virtual number, but that number stays exactly what it
oh,
was when you set it
okay.
up. Now they're setting it up where every different purchase is a different number, which is
Right.
really more secure. It's
Right.
almost a VPN.
That's honestly why I use Apple Pay everywhere I can. Like I almost if it has an Apple Pay option, I'm gonna use it because it's way more secure than just swiping my card.
Right.
Um,
Because you one swipe and you're good. Like, okay, the way Google Pay was working, okay, you don't have to swipe, you can just scan it. But at the same time, now they you can get your virtual information stolen because that virtual account is linked to that real card. With
right,
so it
right,
takes a little bit more decryption to get the information, but the information was still there because it didn't randomize. Now, like I said, they're making a push for Apple. That's what this
right.
is.
All right. So, but here's the main difference, though, right? And this is what Apple always tries to get Google and Facebook on, is that their business isn't hardware. Their business is ad, right? That's how Google makes its money, is through ads.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a dichotomy because Google is they're trying to emphasize their privacy, and this is how we can protect your data and all that stuff, while at the same time they need your data. in order to make money. So
It's
it's
one of those
kind of
cases
like
like we're gonna make your data that we need so much more secure that you're gonna use our stuff to get your data
right.
from your data. It it's like I said, it's gonna be a game changer. I really want to see how. This is why I'm mad E3 was canceled because I want to see how Samsung was gonna respond.
Hmm.
I really want to know what they got cooked up because this is huge on the Android side of things.
Yeah.
Apple's Apple. There's no competition for Apple. It is what it is.
Right.
Android, there's competition, but it's always been Samsung, maybe Huawei or other
Huawei.
for Huawei. That's it. My
No, it's
bad. Yeah, that.
it took me a while to realize what their name was also. But
So you see, the market is very almost like you either had an Apple or you had a Samsung. Now it's like you have an Apple. Now we're getting Android competition, which
right.
should build up the market.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot of people who don't have like the only people I know with Android phones usually have either a Samsung phone or a Pixel. I don't know too many people with other. I know someone who had an LG phone, but LG is not doing smartphones anymore. Uh,
They were
so
hemorrhaging. They were hemorrhaging money because competition. It's like,
yeah,
okay, if you thought Android, you thought Samsung. Same thing with a lot. If you have a lot of the other types of phones, the other type of Androids, you're gonna get those from Cricket. So you're gonna get cheaper Android phones, still an Android, but it's gonna be cheaper, or the off brands of Samsung.
which is funny because like back in the day, like HTC was like the major. I had my first Android phone was an HTC Touch, not Touch Pro. What was it? That's Windows. Evo at HTC Evo 4G on Sprint. That
Me
was
too. Me too.
that,
I had that same phone. I didn't switch to Samsung. They upgraded me and gave me a Samsung 3, and I'm like, oh, I like it. Roll with it. That's what I want now.
yeah. I mean, it's that was a great phone. In fact, you know, it's funny. Like when I look at my oh, sorry,
Now you
I
go.
was adjusting the cameras,
Nah, it's
but
cool. I had to tilt it.
so like if I look at my contacts on Google, some of the HTC data is still there. Some of the metadata is still there
Yeah.
from way back when I had that. But yeah, it's and now, but like nowadays, it's just basically Samsung and maybe Google, which is
Right.
ironic because they make Android. But
They make the operating system, so they got to have a stake in the game. But now they're actually trying to literally change it.
right,
I mean, you can make your money off of putting your software on other people's stuff, or you can make your own stuff. Take the Apple route, make your
right.
own.
So the very last thing that I want to talk about with Google at least was their AR goggles. I keep saying
Mm.
goggles. Their glasses. So like basically they're literally like a pair of glasses that you put on, and instead of doing like a whole bunch of fancy stuff, it looks like the only thing that is made for is language translation. So like while someone's talking, it'll translate what they're saying in real time and display it in your language on like the lens or whatever. Which honestly is really cool. Like so that they demoed something like this back in 2017 when with the
Yeah,
original Pixel Buds. So you know you could it would translate someone's speech in real time, which I don't know how well it worked, but to be able to see what they're saying while they're talking is pretty cool. And I think that this could go a long way for, you know, to eliminate language barriers and stuff like that. If you're talking to someone who, you know, English might not be their first language, and you want to make them feel comfortable and all that kind of stuff, you just allow them to talk in their own native language, and then you can just talk in your language, or at least you can at least
at least know
know what
what's
they're
going on. If y'all
right,
both are wearing the glasses, okay, now we can have a conversation. Now,
right.
I have one slight problem with that. I mean, it's a great innovation, but can everybody literally afford it?
Yeah, well, that so this is so when they announced it, this was like in the future. Like it's not even out yet. I don't even know when
Right.
it's gonna be out. Probably did they say when it'll be out?
I
Maybe
think
next
they were
year?
shooting for like late 2023, early 2024. But again, price point.
Right,
You got to think of how much technology is going into these shades. It's basically an Oculus.
right.
It's just a smaller Oculus, and yet again, it's kind of almost a data miner too, because now you're literally speaking to the glasses.
Right.
So it's
So
like,
now
yay,
Not only do they know you have your bank account information, now they
Right,
have their
because
voice
like
print.
not, you got a voice friend. Big Brother is literally watching and
Right.
listening now. But it's the safety concern for me and the price point because that's more of the again it's going to go to the higher socioeconomic class as opposed
Mm,
to the people that really need it, which are usually the lower socioeconomic class. Like these are for the factory workers. So who may or may not have questionable paperwork, like I said, may or may not. This is for how can you communicate with them, how can you communicate with your coworkers? How are you going to communicate with people who may be in the same building as you, like call center environments, office environments? Okay, you now can diversify because English doesn't have to be your primary language anymore. But at the same time, our company's going to be willing to invest in a bunch of these glasses.
right, right. So I was reading this Verge article about it, and they were saying that Google's trying to solve an immensely complicated problem, and that's with like grammar and like how do you convey like it's one thing to just translate just the raw words that people are saying, but now you have to try to convey intent, like maybe there's a cultural variant or some way of saying stuff that if you're not a native speaker you might not get what they're saying.
Right. The vernacular is going to be, it's going to have to be consistently learning your speech patterns and what you listen to in order for it to be, effective. The first time
Right,
out of the box, you're going to get a literal translation. And as time goes on, it starts to understand your speech patterns or the speech patterns of people who talk to you consistently. Then it's almost AI as
right.
opposed to AR.
It's funny because language is such a tricky thing because even within English, like in fact, let's just make it even more relevant. Like let's talk about African American vernacular, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I said, "All right, bet," just that phrase has so many different meanings depending on the context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I could be sincere, like all right, I understand you, or it could be more malicious, like all right,
All right,
you know,
square up.
all right, all right, right, let's square up, all right, so it could be so many different connotations or whatever. So,
That's what I'm
I
saying. It's gonna be AR and AI at the same time because it's gonna have to learn your speech pattern so it can learn other people's speech patterns just so you would have an actual real translation as opposed to the sky is blue. Like, hey, it's clear outside.
right. Before we transition to the next topic, Dominique, did you have any since you're back with us now? Did you
Yeah,
have anything else?
I'm gonna just keep the video off because I think that there's too much bandwidth for I'm with the carrier formerly known as Sprint.
Nah.
I
So
love that.
anyway, you guys were talking about the AR experience, and I mean the glasses, the translate glasses.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was listening to Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, talk about it, and he brought up the fact that this is like our target that we can hit, as opposed to like this like magical world that like fantastical VR, like Ready Player One kind of. We're not there yet, right? And he said the more the wider you want to make this experience, the farther off the product is. And we're just trying to get it out there, trying to figure out
Oh no.
can be done with minimal processing power, minimal, there's no compute really needed, not none, but very little, right? And it's something that could fit in the rim of a glass, the frame of some glasses, right? So, like you guys were saying, I don't think vernacular is something that can be tackled, easily, if ever. Like I don't know if AI and machine learning can ever understand that I be moving around doesn't mean I exist as moving around. Like it's African American vernacular. We use be in a way that traditional English doesn't, right? So, that's a problem, and I don't even know if it's a problem really. If you're in another country, they can figure out, just like when somebody speaks broken English to you and you hear bathroom where, like you don't, even if they didn't put the words in the right order, you know what they're saying. They say they're asking you where the bathroom is. So I think that if the glasses could have me move around in different countries speaking different languages and not have to keep pulling my phone out to type what I want to say in English and then find their language and translate it and have them hand them my phone and then ask them to tell me what they're saying back. I think that's a win.
No, no, definitely. I think I said before, like I've actually done that before. I did a whole like transaction when I sold a computer a while back, and I did the whole transaction via Google Translate because the guy didn't speak English that well. And so like he spoke Spanish, I spoke English. I used Google Translate. I'm up there typing, showed it to him, and he typed it out and showed it me. So it worked, right? I was able to sell it to him, but like you said, having that real time translation would make it a lot easier. Like if both had those glasses, it would make it a lot easier. And to your point, and also to your point, let's see, as far as the economics behind it, like who's going to be able to afford these? I wonder if one of the reasons why they kept the functionality really just with one thing was to keep the cost low. And so maybe that'll be a way to get it out to people who may or may not be able to afford it, or who may not have been able to afford it before. I don't know. Just speculation, but I wonder if that was a reason.
Hmm.
But did you, Dominique? Did you have any other thoughts on Google I/O? No, kind of you really get a chance for the rest of the announcements.
Yeah, no, it's the thing that it always is. So Google, I'm not. I like the direction they're going with the Pixel. I like the fact that they're kind of marrying Pixel and Android, and if they could ever get them built, I think it will be a quality device. Sundar Pichai was talking about that as well. Um, it's a challenge. It's we don't think about it, but like they've been working on this stuff for 5 years. By the time we see it, and it's acquiring products, securing supply chain lines, picking the right product, and then there's just so much that goes on into making a device that we're not hip to. So, I don't really have any like it did nothing really like blew my mind, and nothing really like disappointed me or I wanted to see more or better or whatever. It's just Google being Google. Hopefully they stick to half of the stuff they presented today, because that's been Google's thing is they start a project, they tell us that this is the thing, and then next thing you know, it's not a thing anymore.
Yep, yeah. Google's well known. There's a whole website
You
that's
remember that social
dedicated.
media network they tried to take off, Google Plus?
Google Plus, yeah.
Yeah, where's that?
Dead.
heck, Stadia isn't gone, but I don't think it's
It's
going
gone.
to.
it's
It's a white
Yeah,
label service now,
Stadia is almost dead.
it's gone.
which is a shame because it's actually really good. But
Great product. It
it's
is.
actually really good as far as like raw performance. It outperforms Xbox all day, every day. Uh,
Hmm.
but the only thing that really matches it is probably Nvidia, the GeForce Now. The GeForce Now is really good too. But Stadia, like the quality of at least the lag time, the latency is. I mean, it's probably the best you can get without physically being hooked up to the machine. But yeah. So hopefully we'll see if any of these. Well, the Pixels won't go to the Google graveyard, but we'll see about these AR goggles or glasses or whatever. But before we go on to the next uh topic, I'm gonna play a little ad right quick, and we will be right back.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started. Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does! And that might be the knockout punch.
All right, and we are back. All right, so next thing is somewhat dear to my heart, and that's the iPod. Apple has officially discontinued the iPod. They laid the iPod Touch to bed, and now it's like they're technically still selling it, but it's only until supplies last. So once it's gone, it's gone. So I want to ask you, did you all ever own an iPod, or like what was your favorite, your first iPod, or I don't know, favorite
My my
iPod?
only iPod was the iPod Nano. It's 3. That was it. That was the only one I ever. I bought it in 2005. I took my paycheck. I'm like, I used to be an overnight stalker, so I took my one of my checks, bought me an iPod, so I'd have to be able to listen to music at night. I love that thing. I ran that poor thing into the ground. It died, it didn't get old. It just literally would not charge anymore. I killed it. But I was thinking about getting a touch, and I'm like, you know what? At that point, that's when smartphones really started taking off, and I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and waste my money on an iPod when I can just use my smartphone. That that makes no sense to me. So I'm not gonna fight it. But I enjoyed the iPod. I did not enjoy iTunes. I'm not even gonna lie, tell anybody I enjoyed setting up iTunes. I did not. I hated every minute of it. It would crash my computer. It would duplicate my music files. So I got 3 or 4 copies of the same song that's in the same folder. I hated, hated iTunes back then. They've gotten better. Apple Music is so much better than iTunes. Oh my God. They took iTunes and actually fixed it when they did Apple Music. But iTunes was the absolute worst.
I
But
mean, yeah,
I
having to like manually sync everything, yeah.
yeah.
So it's funny because like I think I want to say the iPod Nano was mine as well. So I had the no, the first one I had was the the round one. No, not round, not round. It was the long skinny one, but it was the uh I think it was the one. It loud. I think it had the color screen, the high def screen on it. Um, but yeah, I think I want to say that was the second one or the first one I had. But I remember when I had an internship at Penn State in 2007, and like I carried that iPod with me like all day, every day. And that's what I would listen to while while I was working, while I was commuting, because I used to ride the little bus network they had. So while I was on the bus, just on listen to the iPod. Um, Obviously, that was this was in 2007 when the iPhone had just came out.
Mhm.
So, I didn't have a smartphone then. And obviously this is way before any kind of streaming music service. But yeah, cuz after that I remember now, cuz after that uh I got my first smartphone, which was the HTC Touch Pro, which was a Windows mobile phone. And I think I no, I think I still use my iPod because Windows was terrible. Uh, at least as far as music management. But then after that, when I got my Evo, I think I just used that. I want to
Mhm.
say I used that for because I stopped using my iPod for a minute. but but yeah, I mean now it's kind of redundant now. You don't really need a dedicated MP3 player. And although that said, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who still use dedicated MP3 players, either because they don't want to pay for a subscription service. Maybe they want to buy and own their music. And I think that's kind of that might be one of the bigger fallouts from this is that there's the ability to buy music like that you own, even if it's digital, but buy music and store it on something, and it's not taken away from you.
Right.
Maybe someone gets mad on Spotify, they take their music off of Spotify or Apple Music. It's gone. You can't listen to it anymore. But if I buy that album, I can listen to it whenever I want. I don't need an internet connection to listen to it. So I think we're kind of missing some of that
Yeah.
ownership of music, right?
That's when you used to actually own your music and could put your music on, make your own playlist. You don't have to pull from what's there. And I miss that. I really do. It's like, okay, you have a Spotify playlist, but if the artist pulls their music, okay, the music you love is gone. Or if something happens and, cancel culture kicks in, okay, you lost somebody. Or you lose the
Mhm.
music you're used to listening to instead of saying, I bought this music. I'm going to put this on my phone the way I want to hear it because you made your own play. Everybody makes their own playlist, but it's better to have your music in your playlist, or you might just have underline. Like you might find people who backpack it. You buy a CD, used to be the CD, rip it, and put underground stuff on your iPod. But now it's
Right,
just like
right.
you're losing that personal touch with losing the iPod.
Right,
Now it's just
right.
like you have to put the music that we have. You can't put your own stuff anymore Or if you make remixes, you can't have the personalization that you used to have. So that's what really died with the iPod.
So I think so I will say you can technically still buy music. Like if you can still go to iTunes and buy music, is so it's or Amazon for that man. You can either you can
Yeah,
buy the MP3. So you can still do it. Admittedly, but because a lot of things are on streaming nowadays, and that's become such a big uh way that people consume music. I mean, think about it. Do people buy movies anymore? I mean, some people do. Some people might go and buy Blu-ray or whatever, but I mean,
yeah,
by and large, most people just stream it.
yeah. And that, like I said, we're to the point where everybody wants instant gratification. It's instant right now. Yes, I could buy a song on Amazon right now for 99 cents. It's technically my song, and I bought it. But suppose they decide to take that artist off after I bought it and I never downloaded it. I left it in the cloud. You lose the potential. You basically could have the potential of losing your 99 cents on a song that you bought, but since they pulled it off the product and you didn't get to download it to save it, because nobody really thinks download music anymore. Everybody's like, okay, I own it. It's going to be on the cloud forever.
Right. Is it?
Is it? Is it really?
Right. I mean, so I think that's on the flip side though, if you had an MP3 player and it broke,
Yeah, man. I have. Oh my god. I'm not even gonna lie. I loved my iPod. Somebody bought me a Zoom. I wanted to fight them. The Zoom was
oh man.
that was a fail.
I didn't even own the Zoom, but the Zoom is like I almost wish they could have kept it because like
Yeah,
the Zoom was better than the iPod.
I mean,
At least in some ways, I think it was better than the
in
iPod.
some ways, but you got to remember at that time nobody wanted this giant brick in their pocket.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
Now they do, but it's called a phone. But back then it's like I got this massive hand-sized MP3 player. Everybody's like,
Right.
I got an iPod.
And if you can kind of go back in time, like if you remember when the iPod first came out, right? What was the whole tagline? You can store like 1,000 songs in your pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the tagline, and that like back then that was crazy. Like what? Like and then it wasn't even just that; it was also the user interface, right? You had that scroll wheel thing,
Mm-hmm.
and like it made it so much
You
easier
just be
to
like,
just
and
right.
play, go.
Right, it was so much easier. It was, because other MP3 players have buttons or whatever. You had to like keep pressing the button and stuff, or it wasn't as intuitive to go through songs like it was on the iPod. And then you had the whole marketing campaign. You remember the marketing campaign with the silhouetted people with the white
Mm-hmm.
ear pod, right? So like they
Like,
had the whole right.
well,
So
you
they
ain't
had
stop me.
so they had a whole marketing campaign that it was catchy. Um it stood out compared to like other, and it's not like other MP3 players sucks. Like Sony had the Walkman, the Walkman version of their MP3 player. There were others, but like when Apple came out with theirs, it just kind of was just better than everything else out there. Or more intuitive, I should say, more than some of the other ones out there. So uh and then the iPod Touch came out when after the iPhone came out because they realized that, well, okay, uh some people might want a phone but not want the phone part of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know a lot of parents who bought iPod touches for their kids, right? Because they didn't want to get the phone part, but they still wanted their kids to be able to download apps and stuff like that, play games and stuff, or listen to music without having to pay for a phone plan or use a phone. So yeah. So sorry to all the parents who aren't able to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But dang, I wish Dom was here because he's an Apple guy, so I'm pretty sure he had an iPod. But uh, trying to see, is there before we move on, I can stop the ticker now. Is there anything about us about the iPod we can kind of remember?
I mean, it started the MPB. It started the really big MP3 boom.
Yeah,
If you think about it, that's when people really got into trying to get their music online so other people could download it to put it on their
yeah,
iPods. It's
yeah. You
like,
said 99 cents. I mean, that's an impulse buy.
right, that's like, oh, 99 cents, cool. But this is back when you had iTunes, you could buy a CD already. You can rip it and put it on your computer. That's what started the iPod started the streaming revolution. If you think about it.
Right. And lest we forget, we are the Black Techies podcast, which came from the iPod, right? And
Mhm.
that they invented the word podcast.
Right, because like you can get little story like shows like ours only on
Hmm.
the iPod.
Yeah.
Like so it's innovative. It was ahead of
It's
its time.
amazing. It's amazing how much they've influenced the
They
the
changed the game.
landscapes, right? So it's kind of sad to see it go. I mean, I don't know how many people were actually buying dedicated iPods or MP3 players, but because I mean nowadays our phones are basically replacing a lot of things that used to be separate devices. I mean, you have a whole I got a whole video camera here. I got I can do video photography. I can do video editing on this thing, photo editing. I can record podcasts. I don't even have to use my computer. I can just use my phone and record a podcast. I can record music on here if I had like an instrument or if I want to sing or whatever. I'm not, but I can, or you could plug a mic into here, right? And
Mhm.
so like this has replaced a lot of things, and because of that, unfortunately, a lot of dedicated hardware is going to go by the wayside.
Mhm.
Some people even think phones are going to replace like computers, like laptops and
I
desktops.
mean,
I don't.
if you think about it right now, they kind of have. How many? A lot. Like I said, it kind of boils down to socioeconomical. When the pandemic hit, how many schools had to send computers home to kids because kids didn't have computers; they had phones. But you needed a dedicated laptop or something, a real computer. Phones
Right,
are they've already started. A lot of people don't have. A lot of people don't buy laptops no more. They don't buy computers. They buy phones, and
hmm,
phones are our computers. So it's all that revolution has already started. The pandemic pointed that out.
right, right. I mean, I can imagine a future, especially with Apple putting like their M1 chips and stuff. Like I can imagine a future where all you have to do is plug your phone into like the computer into like a monitor or something and just use a Bluetooth keyboard. And then that way you can I mean actually you can technically do that now. I take that back. You
You
can
screencast.
right. You can do that
I'm
now.
about to say so. Screencast and
Yeah,
a Bluetooth keyboard and the keyboard on your phone.
right. And actually, Samsung actually has I'm sure you heard of Samsung Dex, right?
Mhm.
It's built into their tablets, into their phones, where when you connect it to a monitor, it automatically goes into Dex mode. And if you connect a keyboard and a mouse, you can basically use it like a little mini Linux desktop, right?
I have a Dex on my Windows PC right now. Like when I don't feel like having my phone on my desk, I literally open up Dex. If as long as my phone's connected to my computer, I open up Dex. I see my desktop. I can go through all my apps on my phone. Like a good. It is very 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 Linuxy, but
Right, right.
it
Well,
works.
I mean, I guess I guess the year of the Linux desktop is coming. I don't know.
Yeah, the Linux kernel is expanding.
I mean, we got Linux gaming, right, with the Steam Deck.
Ugh,
Why not?
good lord. I can't wait to get mine. I gotta wait till quarter three or four.
Oh, it hasn't shipped yet? Oh man.
Oh no, I was late to the party. I'm quarter three, four ish.
Oh
So
well.
right around my birthday is when I should be able to get it.
Hey, hopefully that'll be a great birthday present,
It's either
right?
birthday because my birthday's in September. It's either gonna be birthday or Christmas, one of the two.
Either way. All right. So the very last thing that I saw I want to talk about was once again Mr. Elon Musk. And so I wasn't on the last podcast you all did, so forgive me if you all are kind of gone over most of this. But obviously you all know that he's intended to buy Twitter, and now he's kind of going back on that. Um, what did he say? He said that he was worried about like bots or spam or something like that on the platform.
He's trying to he wants to make sure that spam and fake accounts do represent less than 5% of users. He doesn't want to buy the platform if the majority of the users are not real users, they're bots. That's any social media platform. Miss me with the BS.
Some people think he's trying to get out of it.
He is. If that's your argument, you already said you were going to pay $44 billion for this. And anybody that's on Twitter, if you haven't dealt with at least, I've been on Twitter like heavily paying attention to it for like the last 3 to 6 months, and I've been hit up by at least 10 to 15 bot accounts.
Mm.
So if you're waiting until after you agree to pay this $44 billion to the state of concern for bot accounts, something else is done. Something else was said, or something else is coming down the pipe that's gonna screw your money, and he
Uh,
wants out. I want to see what's going on, because you don't be gung ho. I'm about to pay $44 billion for a social media platform, and you wait until after you're saying you're going to do it to say, let me do some research and see what's going to happen. You did this research already. You've
mhm.
done this. Anybody who's about to spend that much money, you can't tell me time, energy, and somebody's overtime check was fired off of doing the research needed to go through with this purchase for you to pull back and say, maybe that I want to make sure there's this less than 5% of users or bots. What's going on in the Twitterverse that's about to happen that's going to potentially make that stock take a dive? What did he see?
I mean, I don't know. I wonder, was he just trolling everyone? Like, does he? I mean, he got all of the finances lined up, right? He got all those banks. So, because at first they weren't going to let him do it because one, they didn't know if he had the money. But then when he was, it seemed like he was serious. You know, he had his own money, obviously, and then he had a whole bunch of finances or financial institutions ready to help out. And so it's like it seemed like he was gonna do it, but now it's like I don't know. But this is Elon Musk though. He's known for like trolling people. He's known for
But
doing stuff like this.
there's been a lot of rumors too, if you think about it, because a certain group are saying, okay, if he makes this purchase, a certain orange individual will make their return. There's a lot of rumors around what is he going to do with Twitter now that you're buying Twitter, or why buy Twitter? Because right now everybody's mostly on. If you're older, you're on Facebook. If you're younger, you're on Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. Twitter's that middle ground. Who
Hmm.
really wants the middle ground?
I mean, it's still a pretty relevant place, though. I will say. I mean, if you're looking for a platform that a lot of major brands, a lot of news is broken on Twitter. Um,
A,
like
a
people,
certain a certain individual made Twitter very very popular.
yeah.
But like I said, I recently got into it more for my gamer persona, and a lot of gamers use tweets for Twitch videos, stuff like that. And we do a lot of TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitter
Hmm.
and Instagram. But like I said, it's some either it's a troll job, which okay, that's not new. But why would you go through the trouble of getting financial backers for a troll job? That that seems counterproductive for you. That's a money loss for you. And apparently, the one thing you've made sure of is you don't take L's. You might do
Right,
some stuff that looks like a L. You might have a lot of people mad at you in your decisions to do things, but you don't lose money.
right.
And you bought this platform as they're making changes anyway, and people are switching to Twitter for you now to say, now I want to make sure there's no bots when everybody knows Twitter bots. Everybody knows there's bots.
So here's the funny thing, like so excuse me. So like, all right, if he owned Twitter, he could do something about it. That's the thing that kind of confused me because I'm like, sir, like if you own Twitter, you can do something about the bots. And like, not all the bots are bad. Like in fact, there's a lot of bots that there's one called the Thread Reader app, right? So like if you what is it? If you summon it or whatever at the end of someone's thread, it'll automatically save that entire thread in like a readable web page or whatever. Like that's very useful. There are other bots that can automatically download videos that people post or whatever. So like not all the bots are bad. There are obviously a lot of other non-person accounts that are probably there for like nefarious purposes. The Russians are real well known for that, as we have found out in the election, the past election, past
Mm-hmm.
past two elections. I'm sorry, but but yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, So like I said, I wasn't here last podcast, so I don't. I know you all probably already talked about it, but at least as far as me, I know a lot of people didn't really like the fact that Elon was trying to buy Twitter, and maybe I guess they were afraid that maybe maybe there's probably a really good reason for that, but afraid that it would empower a lot of people with certain viewpoints to kind of just flood Twitter or just all in the name of free speech and everything. But at the same time, I was like, well, I don't know if Twitter would change that much if he owned it. I don't know. It's like it's one of those things where I would need to see what he would do. He might
Right,
actually do some things that are uh beneficial, but we won't know because he's all being all wishy-washy as far as buying Twitter. Uh, but I don't know. You know who I feel bad for though?
mhm,
The employees, right? If you work
right,
for Twitter, like imagine working for Twitter right now, and you hear this, you see this news that like, how do you how did like as far as like job security, as far as like what will I be doing? I don't know. It must be kind of confusing if you're an employee
right. It's one of
trying to
those
get
you don't know what's gonna happen. You're literally sitting here watching the news like everybody else. Like, okay, am I gonna wake up in the morning and I don't have a job? What's going on?
right. So I mean, I'm trying to see if I can get Herb in here right quick before we leave.
I thought,
But well, I mean, you still got time, I guess. But
yeah,
well, maybe not as much. I think my wife is ordering food, so I might have to.
I'm about to actually get dinner myself. Me and my little one need to eat.
Oh yeah,
So
but oh, so unfortunately, Dominique probably won't be back on. His signal keeps dropping, but we do appreciate his his input as usual.
hmm
Let's
it's been
see.
a while since it's just
Um,
been me and you.
yeah, I mean,
Not
usually it's just I don't think well, I think the last time it was just me and you is when I interviewed you for when you first was on the podcast, right?
yeah, when I was a guest before I was
Yeah,
there.
right. But well, before we wrap up here, did you have any what's the word? Any so at work, you know how you have like a bunch of corporate speak, and like at
Oh
the end of a
yeah.
meeting they'll be like, you have any go backs or whatever. I'm like,
Uh,
okay.
like, oh, you
you
want
have
me to pay
you
attention?
have any
Ooh.
do you have
um,
any late breaking news that you wanted to talk
for
about
me,
before we end it?
I am doing a lot. Personally, I am starting to. I'm embracing my gamer side more, I guess you could say. Uh,
As we
I've been
see
a
by your
Twitch.
background.
Yeah, I've been an affiliate for almost a year. It'll be a year in October. Been streaming on Twitch for almost 2 years in August, and things are actually going pretty well streamer side for me. I'm starting to embrace that side of my life more. I'm having more fun with it. My son streams with me. We stream every Saturday. He's starting to develop a fan club, and it's kind of good for him. He's getting ready for high school, so it's building his confidence up. And I'm like, hey, if anybody tells you anything, like just tell them like, at least I'm not. At least I'm a Twitch affiliate streamer. What are you?
Right.
And uh, I'm part of another business called the Parthenon of Gamers. It's ran by me and two other women of color, and we're all streamers. In fact, one of our founders, she came in second place for Game Informer magazine's Last Gamer Standing, and she was the only female in the top 10. So that was kind of cool. And she did a half-page article on Game Informer in March. Shout out Angelic Layla, love her to death. Um, we're in our Discord. Basically, we do anime night, anime weekends, movie nights, musical nights, and just try to build a community where everybody can come together, hang out, just living my life. And I'm trying to get more of my business off the ground more, so I can stop working for other people and start doing it more for me. My business actually been going good. I actually had a shot at a nonprofit. It's just I
Oh,
can't.
and
I
oh,
don't
that's
have.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have the time to dedicate to it like I want to, because bills. Gotta have those. Those
Right.
bills are important. Um, but for me, just watching technology. Oh, funny thing. Like I said, I'm not gonna be on the show on the 11th, but on the 12th, Xbox and Bethesda's is doing their game.
Oh,
Uh,
wait. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
gaming
Yeah, yeah,
announcement.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh,
we might
we're
have to
definitely
talk
gonna be
about that
talking
in
about that.
July.
Yeah, yeah. We're definitely gonna talk about that
Ooh, yeah, I'm
Star
waiting to see what they do.
Starfield just got delayed. Starfield and another game just got Redfall just got delayed.
Hmm.
So and Starfield, like that's one of the games that's like people are really hyping this thing up, like the next Skyrim or something. So like,
Yeah, that delay is a
but
killer.
right. But so speaking of side businesses, I've been I've been trying to so those who don't know, I'm a
One,
oh you
two.
got her. I am
Hey,
Hey,
he made
yeah,
it. I
yeah.
mean, we're kind of sort of towards the end, but but
Hey, man.
good to have you back on.
Yes, yes. Thank you for taking over in a pinch the hosting duties for the show this week. Uh, for the audience that's been watching, as usual, thank you for tuning in. Um, as you can tell, a brother is on the road. Today was my father's 70th birthday.
oh, happy
So,
birthday!
yeah. So, needless to say, I'm someplace quiet away from the festivities, preferably in my car. So, that's kind of how we handled it. Um, I mean, yeah. The one thing about the topics that we saw earlier this week, and I think me and Dave and the crew kind of went over some topics, knowing that this is going to be a different lineup today. Um, Google has been paying a lot more attention to Apple than people seem to realize, and they are making the totalitarian move to their own ecosystem, the way Apple has done in terms of closing off theirs. So yeah, it's if there's it's very 1984ish the way they're doing their little move to isolate their own ecosystem. But that's kind of where everything's going now. Everything's going to be proprietary, and there's a lot less in the way of integration for some of these larger consumer companies in terms of their products and them playing nice with others. Now, um, in light of the iPod going the way of the dodo, I'm feeling some kind of way about that. Because um, anybody that's ever had to get through, anything from study sessions to work to you name it, had an iPod. And the fact that the iPod is rolling out, you know, um, I mean, going extinct like the Tasmanian tiger. I don't know. I'm not feeling, I'm not getting the warm and fuzzies about that, because um,
Do you own
Apple has
one?
made it. Yeah, I do. But then again, I own a Windows phone too. So,
I like Windows phones. Go ahead.
yeah. So, I own a Windows phone. I own the Zoom. So, yeah. Um, we all know what happened with Zoom. You know,
Mm.
eh, no comment.
Uh,
But, yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a milestone to be sure for Apple's you know, for Apple's lineup. There's nothing more iconic that says Apple than the iPod. You know, um, it's it's almost borderline been become a part of pop culture in terms of its visibility in the culture. You know, I mean, you see iPods in shows. You have rap lyrics about iPods. Everything. And everything else in between. So
right.
it's gonna be really weird not seeing that in Apple's lineup. And I think somebody folks that still have iPods are gonna make some pretty nice amount of money on collector's items.
Oh yeah, those things about to shoot up
Ooh,
and
they're already at 300, 400 now for the handle.
Yeah, I'm looking at, I mean, I got a couple of, third, fourth generation iPods in the crib now, and I'm like,
about to make you some nice money.
sure,
I'm tempted to go to eBay right now just to see how much they go for.
yes, yes, and I think, for the most part, um, I mean, it is what it is. It's not, it's a sign of where Apple's going in terms of modernizing, what they normally do. Um, in the same vein, it's sad. It's really a sad uh, deal to see something so iconic go away. Um, you know, um, as far as the early part of the show in terms of um, um, you know, Emperor Palpatine, aka Elon Musk, you know, um, trying to cold renege on buying Twitter. I don't see it happening. He's got too much money invested in it. I think um, I think when we talked about this the previous show, uh, I think Elon Musk buying Twitter and that Twitter landscape in terms of users changing a little bit um, is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for folks that have other products and other platforms out there, like like we've been talking about fan base for like the last month or so. We've been talking about Mastodon and some other social media platforms that already have kind of cult followings as it is. Um, it's a good opportunity for those cult followers to develop broader followings, and I think it's something that as Twitter turns into the Wild Wild West, because it will, with old dude at the head. Um, we're going to see a lot of changes. I mean, that's just my take on it.
We'll
So
see. We'll see. I mean, well, he has to buy it first. So the way things are going, I don't know. I was telling Leslie that I kind of feel bad for the employees because it's like if you're a Twitter employee, like what are you thinking right now? Like,
yeah, I mean, what are you thinking? I mean, like I said, it's rough. It's rough stuff, man. I mean, it's hard to really uh, look at it from the perspective of this guy being taking over the company and really taking over the company with their best interest in mind. Um, it's hard to look at it like that because Elon Musk gets bored with just about every pet project he has. You know, I mean,
hey,
what
he's like
happened?
he's like the Google of billionaires.
Yeah, exactly. You know, yeah, I started this project. I've had lofty ambitions, and then yeah, okay, I'm bored. You know, it, and I mean, it's already starting to happen, and he hasn't even bought the company yet. So, it's crazy. But um, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be something that we you know it's going to be a while to see the long term effects of him taking over the reins at that company in terms of users and perception. It's going to be a long, we won't see the effects of that for a while. Um, but I know the fact that he was talking about letting Donald Twitter fingers back on Twitter. Um, I don't know, man. That's just not gonna look. It's just not. You know, you might as well endorse Parler while you're at it.
So the irony though is that if he did come back on, he said that he wasn't, but if he did come back, that would automatically like delegitimize Parlor, Gab, Truth Social. Those apps would just go. That's
It'd be
that's the
rap.
irony.
It would be conservative social media platform apocalypse. It really would.
That'd be
And
hilarious.
yeah, it would be. It would be pretty funny. I mean, like I said, it's just seeing how those things will, kind of play out. Um, I think that's the most interesting thing to come about with him purchasing the company. Um, as it relates to that, outside of that, it's going to be, I don't know, man. Like I said, anything dealing with Mr. Musk is like the Wild Wild West. So it's kind of hard to see, any sort of direction in terms of where it's going to go. You know,
Well, we'll have to see. We'll see what happens. Maybe by the time we do the next podcast in June, uh, maybe something would have happened. I don't know, but I'm going to use that as a segue to let anyone who's watching or listening after the fact that speaking of Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter at the Black Techies. And then, like I said at the beginning of the show, we're basically everywhere. So just name a social media platform, maybe except TikTok, but name a social media platform or a podcast platform. We're there. Go ahead and subscribe, and please, please, I'm begging you, leave a review on iTunes. But
yeah,
that it
yeah,
really helps though, because the more reviews we have, the more Apple includes us on that algorithm. We might even get on the front page. If you go on the front page, then we can still be the number one black tech podcast out there, because I don't think there's anyone else like us out there. So we're trying to fill that niche. um, but anyways, I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to wind it down here before
yeah,
we go. Any other last words, Herb, since you haven't been here?
yeah. For our viewers out there, um, big shout out to the HBCU Digital Network. I was about to say our podcast. Wow, that's rough. This has been a long day. Um, a big shout out to the HBCU Digital Network for really, coming through in the clutch and provide a platform for, the Black Techies to do their thing. For those of you guys that are watching, we are live on the HBCU Digital Network the first 2 Saturdays of every month. Um, that's when our podcast goes. We start at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, even though the time frame is an hour, we tend to go over because we tend to ramble, kind of like today. So, um, it makes for a really fun time. You know, pass the word, check us out. If you have questions about the show, topics that you would like for us to talk about,
Or
um,
sponsorships?
yes, sponsorships, yeah, sponsorships. Um, hit us up on our social media platforms on Twitter, or hit up HBCU Digital on their social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook. We also have a Twitch channel where we also live simulcast this podcast. Including the troll that was on last week. I know you're kind of chomping at the bit to try to say something, but you can't because I banned you. I banned you, dude. So you ain't got to worry
Oh wait,
about
I
that.
missed that one. I need to go back and watch
Yeah.
it.
Oh, please do. I would love,
Oh yeah.
please. I'm Get Wreck 2020. Please come on stream. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I stream on
Yeah.
Sundays.
So,
Let's talk about
but yeah, and the more interaction that we have from our audience, particularly on social media and Twitter, the better. If you watching the podcast on Facebook or Twitter, and you have and you want feedback and you want to be interactive and participate in the show, hit us up. We do live responses during the show. We ain't taking calls just yet. We got a little ways to go before we do that. But we do interact via chat, and if there are particular topics, because we talk about a lot of stuff, not just technology. We talk everything from consumer tech to blurred topics to movies to you name it, to pop culture. You know, um, you got topics that you want to talk about, hit us up, and we will definitely endeavor to cover those things. And by all means, if you are an HBCU product, HBCU supporter, HBCU graduate, hit us up. We are HBCU and Divine Nine friendly. So, with that being said, yep, Tennessee State, Alabama State, Southern University of
Southern
Baton Rouge.
University.
it. It should be our
Yes. So with that being said, thank you again for tuning in to the Black Techies podcast, episode 70. Thank you for tuning in to the HBCU Digital Network. And with that said, hail Wakanda.
Okay.
Hell, kinda.
Thank you.